The transport shuttle's emergency beacon had been broadcasting for 3 hours before it died completely. Kathy dragged herself through the crimson undergrowth of Zarthul Prime, leaving a trail of dark blood behind her. Her left leg screamed with every movement, the bone clearly fractured from the crash. The dense jungle around her pulsed with bioluminescent life, beautiful and utterly indifferent to her suffering. She collapsed against a massive tree trunk, its bark rough and foreign against her back. Her medical kit was somewhere in the wreckage, along with her weapons and her hope of survival. Zarthul Prime was classified as a death world, home to the Zarthul, a species the galaxy knew only as apex predators. No human had ever set foot here and lived to tell the tale. "Some first contact this is going to be," Kathy muttered, her voice hoarse. She pressed her hand against the gash on her side, feeling the warm stickiness of blood seeping through her flight suit. The rustling in the undergrowth made her freeze. 3 pairs of luminous amber eyes emerged from the shadows. Kathy's breath caught in her throat as 3 juvenile Zarthul stepped into the dying light. They were smaller than the adults she'd seen in intelligence briefings, perhaps only the size of earth tigers. But their obsidian scales, razor-sharp claws, and rows of crystalline teeth made them no less terrifying. The cubs approached slowly, their heads low, tails swishing behind them. Kathy had no energy left to run, no weapons to defend herself. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end. Instead, she felt something warm and rough against her cheek. One of the cubs was nuzzling her face, making soft chirping sounds. Another pressed its scaled body against her injured leg, its body heat soothing the ache. The third positioned itself in front of her, facing outward, its small body tensed and alert. Kathy's eyes flew open in disbelief. What are you doing?" The cub beside her leg began to purr, a deep rumbling sound that vibrated through her bones. Its sibling continued to groom her face gently while the third stood guard. They weren't attacking. They were protecting. Hours passed. The cubs took turns hunting, bringing back strange fruits that they nudged toward Kathy's hands. She tasted one cautiously, sweet and tart, and it gave her a surge of energy. When the temperature dropped and the jungle's nocturnal predators began their hunting calls, the 3 cubs pressed closer, forming a living barrier around her wounded body. Kathy drifted in and out of consciousness, fever making her delirious. She dreamed of Earth, of her partner Alistar waiting for her return from this diplomatic mission. She'd promised him she'd be careful. The sound of heavy footsteps woke her at dawn. Through her blurred vision, Kathy saw them, a squadron of adult Zarthul, their scales gleaming like dark jewels in the morning light. They were enormous, each easily 3 times the size of the cubs, with ceremonial armor marking them as elite guard. Their weapons hummed with energy as they surrounded the area. The cubs immediately began chirping frantically, pressing even closer to Kathy. The smallest one positioned itself directly over her chest, spreading its tiny wings in a defensive posture that would have been adorable if the situation weren't so dire. The lead guard, distinguished by crimson markings along his crest, stepped forward. His voice was a deep rumble that Kathy's translator struggled to interpret. "Stand aside, younglings. The alien is wounded. We will—" "No!" The chirp came from the cub on Kathy's chest, its voice high and determined. "Our human. We found her. She needs us." The elite guard froze. Several exchanged glances, their ear frills flaring in what Kathy's fevered mind recognized as surprise. Another guard, smaller but with intricate silver patterns, moved closer. She tilted her head, studying the scene. "Commander Vorash. They've bonded with it." "Her," the smallest cub corrected fiercely. "She has a name." "It's—" The cub looked down at Kathy's name patch. "Kathy." Commander Vorash knelt, bringing his massive head level with the cub's. His amber eyes studied Kathy with an intensity that made her want to shrink away, but the cubs held firm. "Younglings," he said softly, "this is a human, an alien species. She does not belong to our pack." "She was hurt," the middle cub protested, the one who had first nuzzled Kathy's face. "Bleeding and alone. We heard Mother's teachings. Protect the wounded, honor the helpless. You taught us this." The third cub, who had stood guard through the night, finally spoke. His voice was quieter, but steady. "She never hurt us, Commander, even when she was afraid. We could smell her fear, but she did not strike. She has honor." Vorash was silent for a long moment. The other guards waited. Weapons lowered but ready. Finally, the commander reached out with one massive claw and gently touched Kathy's forehead. She flinched but had nowhere to go. "Human, Kathy," he rumbled, and her translator finally caught up, rendering his words clearly. "My younglings have claimed you as pack. Do you accept this bond?" Kathy blinked, certain the fever was making her hallucinate. What?" In Zarthul tradition, when younglings defend a life as their own, that life becomes family. They have guarded you through the night, shared their hunt, and defied their elders for you. His eyes narrowed. "But the bond must be mutual. Do you claim them as yours?" Kathy looked at the three cubs pressed against her, their eyes pleading and protective. These creatures that should have killed her had instead saved her life. Her hand trembled as she reached out and touched the smallest cub's head. "Yes," she whispered. "They're mine, my family." The effect was immediate. The elite guard stepped back, weapons powering down. Vorash stood and barked orders. "Medical team now, prepare a healing pod and send a message to the human vessel. Their diplomat lives, under the protection of the Zarthul elite." As the medics rushed forward with equipment, the commander looked down at the cubs with something that might have been pride. "You have brought honor to our people today, younglings, and perhaps," he glanced at Kathy, "opened a path our ancestors never imagined." Kathy felt gentle claws supporting her as she was lifted onto a medical platform. The cubs refused to leave her side, chirping encouragement. Through the haze of pain and medication, she managed to smile. Humans, it seemed, had a gift for finding family in the most unlikely places, and sometimes family found them first. When Alistar received the transmission 3 days later, he nearly collapsed with relief. But nothing could have prepared him for the footage that followed. His partner, alive and healing, surrounded by 3 adoring predator cubs who refused to leave her side, and an entire elite guard treating her as one of their own. Humanity's first contact with the Zarthul began not with treaties or weapons, but with 3 cubs who saw a wounded soul and chose compassion over instinct. That, perhaps, was the most human thing of all.